Hey there, and welcome to the Audacious Agency Hot Seat, where we share entrepreneurial stories to inspire and motivate you to rocket launch your brand. I'm your host, Lauren Clement, the brand navigator. Welcome to the Hot Seat. So welcome everybody to the Audacious Hot Seat. It is awesome to have you here with the most amazing guest we have today, the fabulous Sharon Davies from Sales to Success. I've loved working with Sharon. We're very good friends, and I'm sure we will this whole thing will go off like a frog in a sock. So it's very, very great to have you here. Sharon, for those who are listening, please let us know who you are, what your story is, and what your business is.
Okay, so Sharon Davies, been in and have had a sales career of over 30 years, working in sales in, I guess, the top 50 to 500 accounts globally as well. So been in the software industry and had a very successful career in management as well. And basically decided to go out on my own because I was over being made redundant with corporate clients. I think after my fourth one, it was like, that's it, I'm going out on my own. And I actually found that I had a lot of clients that reached out to say, can you come and help us with our sales reps, inputs, process and structures? So my business, Sales to Success, is really about helping businesses to get the sales process and structure and to empower them with confidence to actually get that deal. So if they're selling into an enterprise space or a commercial space that they need structure and help, or they've got a couple of sales team, that they're like, I really want to hire them, onboard them, recruit them. Sharon, how do I do that? So it's helping them to do all those process and, really make their value proposition of their business, of their product or services that they're offering, absolutely seen with confidence for them. So I take them from being, I guess, comfortable to uncomfortable to comfortable in selling their product and services, and really inspiring them and empowering them.
Yeah, brilliant. I love it. And what I really love about your story, Sharon, is that you sort of got to a point where I'm sick of not being in control of my own destiny and I want to do something about that. But what I love about your story as well is I often talk to people about you and the fact that you are so systems processed. So, organizational structure focus, that's what you are all about, is like things have to go in order because they work that way. And then you can repeat them, you can teach them, you can, program in for your team, everything else. That comes from something way back from when you were very, very young. So I wonder if you could share that part of your story with us.
Yeah, so I actually had, that's interesting. Yeah, structure was always something that in my family we had. And I think that my whole family and background, we're all in sales. And my father was general manager of a sales organization, working with the Waltons and the Myers. So it was very much about structure as kids. And so I think that learning that from dad, and that there was a format, and the reason why you did that was because you had success. So in other words, if you did your homework, you did your chores, you got to play netball, right? Which I had a professional career with my sister as well. And so it was all about structure. And I then took that into my work, into my life, even with having my children, same thing, structure. And it just works. The same with sales. Sales is about building those relationships and it's about structure. But if you don't have structure, it's not going to work. Doesn't matter how good you are at talking, you've got to have structure and process. So that's, it really comes back from my father and drilling that into us. And yeah,
it's an amazing story. Isn't it interesting how often our brands and our businesses come out of the way that we've grown up in life and what we've learned from those around us? So
absolutely,
it's so important to what you're doing. So you saw a gap in the marketplace for really expert sales training that corporates just leverage all the time, but small businesses really didn't know much about. As you say, most of them are flying by the seat of their pants and very reactive to what's going on. What have been some of the biggest challenges that you've had to face stepping out of that corporate world and starting your own business and really finding your own identity and launching yourself?
That's a really good question. And I know we've talked about this quite a bit. I think stepping out that even though I had from the corporate space, I think what I actually found stepping out was that I actually missed being around a sales team and a sales environment. So it took me a while to find out who I am, but going back to my clients and asking them questions, and I think that then you come into your identity, like, would this work? How would this work? And constantly asking questions, which is basic 101 in sales, right? The same thing. So I think for me, it just took me a while to get that momentum, but it was then come back to having structures. So it was really then putting into the phone calls, the talking with clients, time management. I talk about gritting your territory, right, for sales reps. Well, it's the same for me of having that structure. Like, I don't sit in my PJs. When I get up of a morning, I go for a walk, I come back, and I get ready as if I'm going to work. So I really, I'm very analytical like that, but I found that because I would do Zoom calls and then I would actually get a call from a client out of the blue, go, oh, Sharon, can we jump on a call? Worst thing ever has been in your PJs, right? So, and especially when it's a corporate space. So it took me a while to actually get that momentum, but I got it, and it was like, yeah, even though COVID hit and that was really tough, it was like I still dressed as if I was going to work and I still had that structure Monday to Friday.
I love it. That mindset and commitment to really being a business person, regardless of where you are. And it's a good lesson, especially a lot of people now having to work from their home offices, and just that level of professionalism that you have to have in your own mindset when you're running a business. But I know also you've gone from corporate to working with smaller businesses. What's the biggest difference you've found with that whole change of audience?
I think it's that I have had to adapt, because what I think that they know, they don't. And I think that was a real big learning curve as well. So even in the corporate space, that all the things that I'm trained in, from strategic selling, Miller Hyman, spin, all the processes in corporate, I wanted to be able to give that to business owners. And what I found was business owners didn't understand what I was talking about. So I actually had to change the language and the process and made it more simple to understand, but also not to come across as aggressive. Like someone said to me, oh, I don't want to come across as salesy. And I go, that's not even a word. However, what it means is that you don't want to come across aggressive. So it was really showing a different way, using their own personality and their own drivers to actually then sell their services and product.
But a lot of people in business are afraid of selling, aren't they? They're afraid of that pushiness and so on. How do you deal with that?
I think it's just, it comes down to building trust with your client, and it's really understanding what their biggest challenges are. Like, I don't talk about pain points, and I say that to business owners. Like, when you go into a conversation, and it's the first step that I talk about in my 4 C's, is the first one is communication, and really listen, like active listen to them of what their biggest challenges are within their business. Because sometimes a lot of people go, oh, what's your pain points? Well, straight away, if you ask a client of that, they're going to shut down. They're going to not open up. So it's really asking those open-ended questions, but also be comfortable with that. So, and that's what I try and deliver when I'm doing training, is to help you to be comfortable with asking the right questions. So I think that's so important, to ask what their challenges are. And if you could find that solution for them, is that something that they would go ahead with? And that's an open-ended question with a trial close. And they're the processes that you need to just have that fundamental. And that's what I found, is business owners taking that on board and going, that's how you do it. So when I do a lot of accountability mentoring for business owners, when we start talking about that, they go, oh, Sharon, that worked. I actually did that. And I just picked up a $50,000 order. And I'm like, but that's it. That's it. It's just asking that question, and it's just open-ended questions with a trial close. It's like having a martini, with a little bit of a twist.
It's interesting, isn't it? It's almost shocking that the fundamentals of sales aren't being taught to business owners and people who are in those roles where they're selling services or products. They're just not being taught that. They try to sell rather than try to ask questions and find out whether the person they're talking to is the right person and whether they even need what you are offering. So
yeah, and sometimes a client, when you build that trust and that relationship, they can even turn around and go, look, I know all about you. I've looked at you up. I've looked at you on LinkedIn. I've done that. Yeah, look, Sharon, I just want to go ahead. And you go, okay. And you don't even have to sell, like if you've offered the right services and the product and you're having that meeting, and they'll go, look, what is it going to cost me? What is it going to come down to? And I go, right. and straight away you close that deal. But it's understanding that process.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you have just tuned in, you are listening to The Audacious Hot Seat, and we have our very special guest here today, the lovely Sharon Davies from Sales to Success. You can find more episodes like this on the Audacious Agency's YouTube channel and in the Rocket Launcher Business Facebook group, and of course, wherever you get your favourite podcasts. Now, Sharon, in business, we always have these challenges, but we also have successes. And I know your business is called Sales to Success. What are some of the things that you've been really proud of achieving since you started your business?
I think, oh, wow, there's quite a few, but I will probably, I guess for me, working with a client where in the oil industry and doing risk management and helping them to really pitch their value proposition and going in to a CEO boardroom function, like, where they were called in, they actually had to do their value proposition. They actually had to pitch the proposal and the quote, and they got the deal and they followed the process. And we talked about it before they went into the boardroom. And I said, whatever you do, whatever the outcome is, please ring me after you finish. But make sure that you're down the lift, down the road, and at least, probably 2 blocks away. And they actually picked up an $80,000 order. So that, to me, I was really, really proud of, because it was a process that we did. We went through the accountability mentoring. They also came and did my masterclass. And we really did practice the scenarios as well of what, the CEO would say. And it was really interesting. The feedback was, Sharon, I know we role played, but they actually said exactly what you said. And I think because I've come from that industry, I know what they're probably going to say. And she said, because we practiced it doing that scenario, I was able to nail it. And he goes, wow, that was a really good presentation. So I think that would probably be one of my highlights. Another one with a HR client that picked up a $50,000 order. The same thing again, we went through the process, what they would probably say, and again, the same thing. But probably my biggest client, where I was helping a client in the banking industry, and their biggest deal that they brought across was $450,000. So I think that for that result, and it was all new business, because that's where I guess I really sit, is helping you to get that new business. So there were things that he didn't realize that he wasn't doing. So to get that, he was like, that was my biggest thing. And I think from a highlight personally, and I never, go, oh, you don't have to thank me and all that. But I think for me, getting the Stevie Awards, the bronze globally, that was a real highlight for me, especially going through COVID last year. But I just wanted to make sure that I supported all the clients in my business and did accountability. And from that, a lot of clients overseas in America reached out to me as well and had those conversations. So I think getting the bronze award was really, people really noticed it, and especially promoting that on my LinkedIn profile, because I still work in that corporate space and helping, business owners, and it actually created a lot more work. So they're probably my proudest moments.
Brilliant. Love it.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting that I think it's something a lot of people struggle with when you're pitching for business and you're pitching your services, and what do I say? What are the words that I use? And so many people really go in just flying from the seat of their pants. They don't have any sort of preparation. They don't practice. They don't prepare themselves. And that's exactly what you teach them, is to be, forewarned is forearmed. And the successes you've had are obvious. They've come out of your training, that, teaching people this is what you need to do to get ready for those things. And congratulations on your award-winning success, because you do have an absolute international award-winning process that works. It's obvious you've got great results. So other than, obviously, we helped you with the awards, but what were the other things that the Audacious Agency helped you with the most?
Branding. I'm going to come back to it. I think when I first started, I had a dream, I had a vision of Sales to Success and what it was going to look like. But what I really didn't, and I think when you come from sales and you work with marketing departments, but when it becomes your own business, it's understanding your brand and your identity. And I think that, Lauren, like, you taught me a lot about that. And we went through that whole branding and getting the right logo, because it's not just about making a logo happen. It's really understanding what the logo means. And I think that all of that work really helped me to identify who I am and the services that I deliver, and just stay in my lane, and I think that was, probably the biggest thing that was really successful for me, redoing the branding. And I'm working on my new website still, so that'll be up soon, almost there. But yeah, I think that would be that. And also last year, supporting other business owners and doing your course with you and Annette each month, especially over COVID. It was something that having that support from both of you and doing other things for the business that you go, oh, now I've got time to think about that. So, I think that each session that I had with you guys was just brilliant. I learned so much. Plus, I did my Cert 4 in small business and through Queensland TAFE, through meeting Peter through you. And that was probably the best thing that I did for the company and for the business as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Love it. The nicest thing is when we see clients like you that don't just go through the process, you actually implement, you do these amazing things, and it's so good to see your brand come to life. So if I ask you this final question, if we could take you back to when you first started your business, what advice would you give yourself?
That sounded funny. I think the first thing I would do more research on, definitely do the Cert 4 in small business, even though I have a diploma in management and all of the corporate things and HR and recruitment, to actually do a Cert 4 in small business management and all of that, and really understand what it takes to run a small business and the difference between a sole trader and a company. Like I'm a company now, and what the differences are and the responsibility of what you have to do. So I think that's what I would take. And also if I had that, make sure that you've got the right people around you that have your best interest, and not just want to use you or, for your knowledge or experience. Definitely put the right people around you that are going to be honest and give you the right feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is hard when you first start out to figure out which ones those are, isn't it?
Definitely. But I've learned a lot in 3 years. It's been 2 years of having my company, 3 years in business. I've actually really learned a lot, and then I've created, especially on LinkedIn, I've created my own business groups in each state, which is really taking off now. So, and it's all about pay it forward, and I have a lot of executive CEOs in those groups, and they just want to come to something that's organic and authentic, where they can just have lunch or have a brekkie, so yeah.
Brilliant. I love it.
So I would have started that sooner.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got such a great brand platform to grow that from, which is great. Sharon, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show today. We will post underneath the interview all the contact details. If you want to get in touch with Sharon, you can go to visit Sales to Success, check out her website, get in touch with her, join with her on LinkedIn. She's awesome on LinkedIn. Go and find her. We'll put her LinkedIn details there as well. Sharon, last words of advice for those who are listening, who are in business, something to do with what they can do to really help themselves when they are selling their services or pitching themselves in business. What advice would you give someone who's listening to today's show?
There's never any wrong answer. Know that you have the knowledge, you know your product, you know your service, and be the expert and stay in your lane.
Love it. Love it. That's awesome. What great advice. Thank you so much for joining us, Sharon. It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you everyone for listening to the Audacious Agency Hot Seat. As I say, check us out. We have a whole range of interviews on the YouTube channel, and of course where you get your podcasts from, and we will see you in the next one. And just remember, guys, you do deserve to be well known, well paid and wanted. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Thanks so much to our audacious guest sitting in the hot seat today, and to everyone for listening. Remember, be bold, be brave, be audacious. For more, subscribe to the podcast or YouTube channel, or join us in the Rocket Launch Your Business Facebook group. The links are in the description below.